to believe the Bible to be the Word of God, say nevertheless that now we're in the new covenant period, it is love for Christ that counts and obedience to his commandments over against Moses and the ancient law of Israel. So what they're saying is that now that Christ has come, the old law is outmoded and it's no longer applicable. What is applicable is our faithfulness to Christ. It's like the old priesthood that we talked about this morning. That whole ceremonial regime has now gone out of use, and a new order characterized by grace and not by law has come into effect with the coming of Christ. The consequence of that in practical terms would be that strict observance of the Sabbath is now not a requirement placed upon Christians. Really, the requirement is that we love Christ and are obedient to his commandments. And that picks up on words that Christ himself spoke, for example, in John 14, verse 15. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. And so words like that are taken to override and supersede anything that is said about the fourth commandment in the Old Testament. So really it's a question, or it's presented in this way, as a question of Christ versus Moses. Obedience to Christ versus obedience to Moses. The practical result of that also is to consign the fourth commandment as such to history. In other words, it's to include the fourth commandment among those rites and ceremonies of the Old Testament that have now passed away. And that's what many of the people who advocate a freer attitude towards the Sabbath say. That the commandment regarding the Sabbath belongs to the ceremonial law and therefore has passed away with the coming of Christ and the new covenant. So that's the background that we have to think about in our own time. We're going to look at another background in a moment,